Hey there, it's Jonathan. It's been a while since I've done some Flash tutorials, but I'm now looking at Flash Professional CC, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of stuff with that. And we're going to be looking at doing an advertisement with Flash. Now, I'm going to be going back and forth between Adobe Flash CS6 and CC. I'm just telling you that now because Flash CC has some issues with memory on my computer, and I'm not very happy doing it that way. So I'm going to be doing some of the animation in CS6, but just be aware that the exact same skills apply to CC if it is indeed working on your computer well. However, let's start from the beginning. Now, if you have not done the GIF animation tutorials that I put out just a little bit ago on YouTube, you might want to go ahead and take a look at them. Here is the basic ad that we are going to be creating in Flash. Now, we've already developed the graphics and the basic layout of this ad in Photoshop, and so that's a real benefit to us because we don't have to redo all that work. I also do want to point out a couple things. Number one, this file size is huge. It's at 1.7 megs at this point, and that is really, really big. Now, the other thing is I do have all these assets, but I want you to be aware of the size of the assets folder. Right now it's 1 meg basically, and I've got all these files in here, and they're actually a little bit large. I have a floor in here that I was thinking about using as well. Now, one of the things to be aware of is traditionally we would want to prepare all of our individual assets to bring into Flash, but we would want to make them at the exact right size that we were using them. For example, here is a kitten that I'm using in my Photoshop ad, and it's scaled pretty well, but the actual size that's being used in Flash is this tiny, small ad, and it's a lot different. Notice this is 77K for it, and then when I flipped it around and put it the other direction, it's only 39K, so almost half the size. It's very, very important to make your PNGs that you're bringing into Flash extremely small. However, one of the cool things that I like about the interoperability between the applications is the ability to bring in something like a Photoshop document into Flash and get what we want. So I'm going to begin with CS6 just because it's here, and I'm going to create a new document. Now, the reason I'm creating this document is so I can import that Photoshop doc and see some of the differences about what they've added to CC when it comes to importing Photoshop documents. So let's do File, Import, and the first time you do it, it'll take a while as it says preparing to import, and then it will pop up eventually. Alright, there we go. So my window's going to come up, and you have to navigate to where you have the file. Now, I have a layer comps version of this file that I'm going to be working with. And let me take a quick look before I import it. Actually, I've got my start, medium, large, N1, and N2. Now, these are really helpful for me to pre-visualize the different sections of my animation. However, in Flash, you'll see that they might be a little bit of a nuisance. So let's now click on this, and you'll see here I can go and look at all the different Photoshop layer comps. But the problem is this: we want everything, so we need to make sure that we turn on all the check marks for all the layers that we want to import. That means basically turning them on for all the layers. That's also why it's very important that we have just the layers that we need in our Photoshop document and not other layers that we don't. The next thing that we're going to be doing is setting the stage to the same size as the Photoshop canvas. I click OK, and here's what I got. Now, you'll notice I have all my layers on the side over on my timeline. That's great. In my library, you might be seeing properties, but you can switch over to library. You'll see all the files there, including all the PNGs that were brought in. Now, you'll notice that some of these, especially the text, looks really, really poor. In fact, if I move it up a little bit, you'll see it's kind of crunchy around it, and if I zoom up, you'll even see how much more crunchy it is. So you can see that does not look very good. And this is one of my problems with CS6. You can double click on one of the bitmaps in the library and go to the bitmap properties, and one of the things you can do to improve the quality is change it to a lossless PNG, and you'll see it's definitely better. As we go to another object, such as this one here, you'll see I can do the same thing. This is the button, so the background, double click on it, change it to lossless PNG, and you'll see it's much better. However, it's not perfect. You'll see it still has some issues getting those nice crisp edges to look really good. So this is not great about CS6. Definitely not great, but it's passable if you go through and you convert some of those images to PNGs so they look a little bit better. Instead, I'm going to look at doing this in FlashCC, importing the same file and see what new options that we get. Now, I'm going to say this before I start, and that is, please excuse if the video kind of lags here and there. It's because there are some memory glitches with Flash to be aware of. So I might import this, talk about it a little bit, and then have to restart the video at some point. Anyway, same sort of process. We create a new ActionScript file. Don't even worry about what the size is or anything like that, because once we go to import the file, I'm going to import that Photoshop document and click OK. And you'll see here we have the ability to say, well, what layer comp are we going to import? And that's where it has a problem, because it doesn't like to import layer comps. So I should have thought about this before making my tutorial. But what I'm going to need to do is basically turn on all of these and then create a new one that says all on. Click OK. And this all on is going to be having all the layers turned on. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. Then, hopefully, let me cancel this and repeat that process again. Import to stage. I go to that particular one, and you'll see there's an all on where I can turn all of the layers on and use those all in. Now, a couple things. Layer conversion, I now have maintained editable paths and effects. I also have the ability to convert the text to editable text or vector outline. And vector outline is a very important thing for animation in Flash. It animates much cleaner than any other format. And then we can also match the stage size. And we'll click OK. Now everything looks pretty good until I try to zoom up. So I'm going to save this document before I do anything. I'm going to save it over the top of the one that I've already been playing with. And let's say that I want to just zoom up a little bit and see if I can get a little bit closer. So take a look at how much cleaner this is than it used to be. It is so much cleaner. Now you'll notice I'm getting a little bit of slow response, but this is a pretty darn clean looking file. So if you've gotten to this point, please go ahead and import your graphics in Photoshop, save your Flash file, and we'll go on with the next tutorial.